Traditional digital anonymity relies on static concealment. You wear a rigid, protective mask and hope the system never sees underneath. That approach is fragile. Make one mistake and the illusion shatters. Modern behavioral and protocol-level fingerprinting algorithms do not need your name to track you. They scan for microscopic anomalies, a single leaked IP address from a momentary network drop, or a unique font signature loaded by your browser, allowing the machine to permanently map your identity. The Sovereign Shield version 1.3 replaces concealment with a strategy of non-convergence. Instead of attempting to hide your data in a dark room, non-convergence focuses on preventing the mathematical collapse of your identity. You remain visible, but statistically unmodelable. This diagram outlines the macroscopic architecture designed to achieve that state. The system generates a dynamic standing wave of data, ensuring your digital footprint is constantly shifting. Perfect privacy creates a severe practical problem. If your digital footprint looks like pure chaotic entropy to every system you interact with, your bank's fraud detection will lock your account in seconds. Total unpredictability isolates you from the economy. The architecture resolves this friction through the dual-channel life. The first half is the stable channel, which acts as your public persona. To survive in a surveilled economy, you feed the machine the predictable stability it demands for commerce. You use this heavily authenticated persona for banking and employment, allowing your true self to exist completely partitioned away. That partition space is the adaptive channel, or the soul. It functions as an ephemeral, strictly isolated sandbox reserved entirely for discovery and exploration. Data emitted from this adaptive channel is intentionally splintered. The system takes a linear, predictable data stream and diverges it into a rotating toroidal vortex. This chaotic data structure protects your sacred inconsistency. It defends the biological right to act irrationally or change your mind without an algorithm logging that evolution as a deviation. Separating your digital life creates a massive engineering challenge. Tracking algorithms analyze the physical way you type, your keystroke dynamics, and how fast your mouse accelerates. Those biological tells are identical across both channels. Preventing crossover leakage between the stable and adaptive states requires strict physical and temporal isolation. A software-level boundary is insufficient if the hardware reveals the human. Achieving true non-convergence requires the system to actively mask the physical, biological habits of the person at the keyboard. Traditional anti-detect browsers try to mask physical habits using mechanical randomness. Artificial intelligence immediately flags standard random number generation as synthetic machine behavior. The Sovereign Shield solves this with the Coil. It uses multi-source timing synthesis to engineer anthropomorphic latency. It calculates 4 variables to create a synthetic signature that feels biologically authentic. The first is base human latency. It maps your keystrokes to LogNormal distributions, accounting for a minimum physical reaction time followed by a trailing probability of hesitation. The second layer is cognitive variance. The system modulates delays based on your interface context. If you are tabbing through a familiar login screen, the latency is tight. If you are reading a dense article, the delays increase to reflect cognitive load. Next is environmental noise. The Coil samples real-world hardware jitter, like micro-fluctuations in CPU temperature or Wi-Fi lag. It weaves that physical reality into your typing delays to create a concrete alibi for the tracker. Generating authentic timing solves only half the problem. If you click a button to clear all your cache and cookies instantly, you create a massive discontinuity signal. Dropping to 0 entropy in a millisecond alerts trackers that you are intentionally wiping data. The system utilizes a transition guard to manage this. Instead of a hard wipe, it applies a Poisson-distributed drift. It phases out your identifiers gradually during routine background events, mimicking natural session decay. To execute this, the architecture relies on strict channel isolation to enforce a one-way membrane between your partitioned identities. By weaponizing human imperfection and integrating physical hardware noise, the Coil builds an algorithmic shield directly out of our own biological lag. Any defense running at the operating system layer will eventually be compromised. The core of this system, known as the vault, moves entirely into the silicon. Your private sovereign seed is never stored as data. It is transiently derived inside a physical hardware root of trust, like a secure enclave. fully isolated from the rest of the machine. The system uses Argonon2ID, a memory hard function, to derive your seed from a passphrase. This forces a computer to use massive amounts of RAM just to make a single guess, making brute force attacks computationally impossible. Once derived, the vault uses a toroidal chaos waves. It provides a constant, subconscious hum that reassures your nervous system that the shield is holding. Sovereign technology must optimize for human flourishing. The defense mechanisms should not cause more stress than the surveillance they block. All of these systems converge in the master protocol. For the user, it manifests as a deliberate 7-second sequence known as the Sovereign Handshake. During the first phase of those 7 seconds, the software finalizes the Poisson drift of old data and severs the active timing signature from the network. Simultaneously, the secure enclave utilizes the 369 algorithm to derive a mathematically fresh living hash. You experience this gap as a visual whiteout. The system executes a state vector reset, removing the global static to prepare for the new identity derivation. Finally, the bloom phase occurs. The interface returns, fresh and grounded, signaling that the trackers have completely lost their signature. As the new session begins, the system displays a final intersystemic confirmation. I am the untamed current in the machine's still sea, sovereign, inconsistent, and forever free. This serves as a psychological anchor. It reminds you that you are the active author of your own inconsistency. Human beings are not static, solvable equations. Our unpredictability is the very mechanism of our